Crimea today stands at a breaking point. For months, Ukraine has been steadily reshaping the battlefield, and now the peninsula has become one of the most contested regions of the war. At the very heart of this confrontation lies the Kerch Bridge, a structure that is both a political symbol and a vital lifeline for Russia's war effort. Ukraine's message could not be clearer. Every Russian military asset in Crimea is now a target, and the Kerch Bridge sits directly in the center of that target board. On August 30th, Ukraine launched 3 long-range cruise missiles, each weighing nearly 7 tons and carrying a warhead of over 1,100 kilograms. These were not symbolic gestures. They were precision strikes that rattled the peninsula. The same day, waves of drones probed for weak spots in Crimea's air defenses. Fires broke out near key facilities, radar systems went offline, and Russian helicopters were destroyed on the ground. By evening, Ukrainian intelligence confirmed that critical S-400 radar and communication nodes had been disabled. Satellite images later verified the damage. Mi-8 and Mi-24 helicopters burned out, surveillance facilities struck, and sections of Russia's air defense left blind. For the first time, the triad of air defense, command systems, and navigation tools had been hit in one coordinated package. This was no random series of attacks. It was a warning. The Kerch Bridge is next. The Kerch Bridge is next. Central to this shift is Ukraine's domestically developed long-range cruise missile, known as the Flamingo. Range, up to 3,000 kilometers. Warhead, more than a metric ton. Launch, mobile systems difficult to detect. A missile launched from deep inside Ukraine can now reach not only Crimea but also cities like Moscow, striking critical factories and infrastructure that fuel Russia's war machine. Unlike foreign systems, Flamingo is Ukrainian-made, meaning Kiev does not need outside approval to deploy it. Reports suggest that more than 200 Flamingo missiles have already been produced. If just 3 caused chaos in Crimea, the potential of dozens cannot be ignored. The Kerch Bridge is more than concrete and steel. It's a symbol of Russia's claim over Crimea and a physical artery connecting the Russian mainland with occupied territory. Logistically, it carries fuel, ammunition, supplies, and reinforcements. Without it, Russia faces serious challenges, moving resources to the southern front. Politically, its destruction would be a blow to the Kremlin's image of control. The bridge has been attacked before by sea and land methods, sometimes damaged, sometimes quickly repaired. But Flamingo introduces a new dimension: long-range, heavy payload, low-altitude strikes that can come from multiple directions. For Russia's defenders, this means one thing: constant pressure. The most dangerous aspect of Flamingo is not just its range or payload, its persistence. Crimea's defenses can manage isolated attacks, but repeated multi-axis strikes wear down even the strongest system. Air defense units must spread out, radars must constantly shift, and personnel are stretched thin. Each new attempt forces Russia to burn through resources, spare parts, and budgets. This constant pressure is what makes the Kerch Bridge so vulnerable. Protecting every approach at once is impossible. Every blind spot is an opportunity. Could the bridge be destroyed outright? Possibly, but destruction is not always necessary. Even partial damage to piers, beams, or deck sections can shut it down for weeks. Repeated strikes could force extended closures, raising costs and disrupting supply lines. For Ukraine, that's the goal. Not one spectacular strike, but a sustained campaign of attrition. Each attempt costs Kiev roughly the same. For Russia, every defense, every repair, every redeployment costs more. This imbalance is where Ukraine gains leverage. Every shutdown of the Kerch Bridge ripples across Russia's war effort. Transport delays mean slower delivery of fuel and ammunition. Logistics strain forces Russia to rely on ferries and railways that cannot handle the same volume. Economic slowdown emerges as supply lines falter. Morale drops when soldiers and civilians see the bridge repeatedly under attack. The Flamingo effect is about rhythm. By disrupting the rhythm of supplies and reinforcements, Ukraine erodes the quality of Russia's decision-making. In war, rhythm is as important as firepower. What can Moscow do? Several defensive steps are possible. Harden the bridge physically with barriers and decoys. Densify radar coverage at low altitude. Increase short-range interceptor systems. Use electronic jamming against incoming drones and missiles. Relocate command centers deeper inland. Hunt for mobile launchers with reconnaissance patrols. But each measure is costly, and none can guarantee success. Protecting one area creates vulnerabilities elsewhere. Shift a radar to the bridge, and an airfield is left exposed. Move interceptors inland, and frontline troops lose coverage. This is the three-card Monte problem of defense. Closing one gap opens another. Recent events show that fatigue is already setting in. Fires at helicopter bases, outages in radar networks, and damage to FSB facilities reveal gaps that appear and reappear in short intervals. Each gap offers Ukraine a window to exploit. Even the most advanced air defense systems cannot maintain perfect coverage forever. Persistent pressure ensures mistakes, and every mistake risks a strike on the bridge. For Russia, the Kerch Bridge is not just infrastructure, it's national pride. The Kremlin has invested heavily in portraying it as untouchable. That image of invulnerability is now cracking. Deterrence relies on myth as much as reality. Once that myth is pierced, repeated attacks become not just possible, but expected. This is why every new fire, every radar outage, and every drone strike feeds into a larger psychological effect. The idea that the bridge cannot be fully defended. And once that idea takes hold, it reshapes the political conversation in Moscow. Striking a target as symbolic as the Kerch Bridge carries risks of escalation. Western governments remain cautious, concerned about broader fallout. But Ukraine's growing domestic missile capability shifts the conversation. With range and payload now secured internally, Ukraine no longer relies entirely on foreign systems. That independence makes its strikes harder to predict and harder to prevent. The more Flamingo missiles roll off production lines, the larger Ukraine's bargaining power grows. What we are seeing in Crimea is not a single offensive. It is the beginning of a new phase, a regime of continuous pressure, daily drone swarms probing defenses, weekly missile strikes testing blind spots, persistent attrition of radars, helicopters, and command posts, mounting strain on budgets, repairs, and logistics. The Kerch Bridge sits at the center of this pressure. It may not fall in one night, but it is being tested repeatedly, and each test weakens both its structure and its symbolism. In the end, the Flamingo missile represents more than firepower. It represents tempo. Tempo shortens decision windows, forces rushed choices, increases errors, and ultimately disrupts rhythm. Whoever controls the tempo sets the agenda. Ukraine has shown that it can create this tempo in Crimea. Russia now faces a future where the Kerch Bridge is not a stable artery, but a permanent liability. What happens next in Crimea will shape not just the battlefield, but the broader trajectory of this war. Every strike, every repair, every fire tells the same story. Immunity is over. Thank you for watching MGE. If you found this deep analysis valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more in-depth coverage of global conflicts, geopolitics, and the forces shaping our world.